hunting,
fishing,
cooking,
camping,
conservation,
travel,
gardening,
photography, family.
family.
Family. This is the Outdoor Ruhls podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. Mike here. It's Christmas week. This is coming out on Tuesday of Christmas week. The Western Outdoor Ruhls are in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico for the holiday. We're down here doing a little bit of fishing and hanging out with family. And so what we're going to do this week, instead of making a new episode, we are going to replay one of our all-time favorites. I mentioned in last week's podcast that the most wonderful time of year is coming up. And I did not mean Christmas. I meant Flintlock muzzleloader season. So we recorded an episode just about this time last year, all about our adventures or misadventures with flintlock muzzleloaders in Pennsylvania. We're going to go back there in a couple of weeks to hunt again. So we're hoping that we find some success this year. So to get us in the mood for that, here comes the episode we called Beautifully Imperfect, all about flintlock muzzleloaders. But before we get started, I wanted to say from our family to yours,
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy Festivus. I've had a lot of problems with you people this year.
Happy New Year.
Feliz Navidad y Próspero Año Nuevo.
Happy holidays, everybody.
The questioning has been better, too. The flow of the conversation has been better. Now, that could have been the guest you have because Matt and I are wouldn't and
Well, yeah.
wouldn't.
This is the problem. Is Matt's hilarious. It's just like taking a fish picture of Matt. He's like the happiest, most excited Matt he can possibly be. And it's like, all right, Matt, hold the fish up for a picture. And he goes, All right, welcome to the podcast, everybody. You got the Ruhl brothers once again. Who's here? Mark's here.
Hello.
Matt's here.
Hello.
And I'm here. This is Mike. We are doing something that we've talked about doing for a while. We're live from deer camp, or live from the shanty, as we're calling it. Mark, what are we doing up here?
Well, we come up for some of the smoke pole season, muzzleloader season, flintlock season here in Pennsylvania. And, get your boys up here to see the cabin. It's Emmett's first time here, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Emmett's first time in deer camp.
And, just be up here with family between Christmas and New Year.
Yeah. This was a time of year that I always really looked forward to when I lived here. Mark mentioned smoke poles. Matt, what's he talking about?
Flintlock muzzleloader.
Right. So Pennsylvania's got a really unique deer hunting opportunity. Matt, just talk a little bit more about this season and kind of when it is and how we've always hunted.
So it's flintlock muzzleloader only. If you're not familiar with a flintlock, that means you have to have a flint that strikes a frizzen, which makes a spark. It's not a percussion cap, so it's a much tougher firearm to use. And the season always has started the day after Christmas and typically runs 2 Saturdays or 3 Saturdays, I guess it would be. Now, I think they actually have extended it now. It seems like it's longer this year when I looked in the book than that.
It's definitely gotten longer since we started hunting it. It used to be like 2.5 weeks, and now it's more like 3.5 weeks, right? So what a flintlock is, kind of like Matt was saying, it's the most traditional, commonly used firearm. And the lock is the mechanism that makes the gun go off, basically. And when firearms were being developed, there was like a whole procession of lock types that started with like match locks, and there were wheel locks, and then eventually there were these flint locks, which we're using. And then what came next was a cap lock. And a cap lock was kind of what was really commonly used in the Civil War. Like if you've ever watched a Civil War movie, that's what those guys were using, where they took a percussion cap and put it on the side of the rifle, and then that's what caused the gun to fire. So a hammer, there's an exposed hammer And on a cap lock, that hammer falls onto the percussion cap and makes a spark. The spark goes into the barrel and sets off the charge. This is much, much, much more complicated and Mark, would you say much less reliable?
Much less reliable.
Yeah. So describe the gun itself. I mean, obviously it's a muzzleloader, so what does that mean?
So you're going to pour your powder in, your charge in from the muzzle end, and then follow that. And depending what bullet types you are using, when we started, you had to use round balls. Then a couple of years into it, after I got into it, they switched and you could use a sabot. But so then after you put your charge in, if you're using a round ball, you'd run a patch and a round ball down. If you're using a sabot, then it's just a sabot. And then from there, you have a pan on the side of your lock that you put powder in. And when the flint makes a spark, it ignites the pan charge, which then causes the weapon to fire. Hopefully. But a lot of problems that come along with that are moisture in your pan, your pan powder actually coming out as you're carrying the weapon, the sparks not actually getting to the powder in the pan.
Sometimes the flints go bad.
The pan firing, but the gun not going off.
It's essentially making a gun go off, making a firearm discharge using a flint and steel. The flint, which is connected on the hammer, when you pull the trigger, it falls onto a steel plate called a frizzen. When the flint hits that steel frizzen, the frizzen flips forward, opening the pan, like Mark's saying, where the powder is, and directing the sparks down into that powder, which, if everything's still working, ignites the powder, burns through a small hole in the side of the barrel, and that ignites the main charge inside the barrel, which is what shoots the bullet out. Right?
Correct. I forgot that sometimes the flint hits the frizzen and the frizzen stops, and that also is one reason they won't go off.
Well, yeah, either you cannot have your flint adjusted right so it doesn't actually hit the frizzen the way it's supposed to and makes no spark. Or you can have the flint too long and it interferes with the frizzen opening.
That's correct.
And then there's no sparks that make it to the pan. Or on a morning like today, like Mark mentioned or somebody mentioned, moisture. This is literally where the saying, keep your powder dry, comes from.
That's right.
Because you essentially have exposed gunpowder or nearly exposed gunpowder, because it's never a perfect seal between the barrel and the side of the frizzen. If you get water in there and the powder gets wet, then absolutely nothing happens. Sometimes the powder in the pan goes off, but it doesn't actually burn through into the barrel, which is maybe the scariest of all the situations.
Yes. Yeah, because then you're never sure if it's going to go off a minute later.
Right. So it can be the case that you get what's called a hangfire, which is that the powder in the pan goes off, and then it's like anywhere between 0 and 5 seconds before the gun actually goes off. Or it can all work perfectly, and even when it works perfectly, it's got a really long, what the technical term is lock time, which is the time between when you pull the trigger and when the bullet goes out the barrel. It takes, even in the best scenario, it takes a much longer time for all that stuff to happen than it does with a modern rifle, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So as far as shooting, I think that this is the most difficult type of firearm to shoot accurately.
Absolutely.
100%.
And it's because you, the thing that you cannot do with a flintlock, or the thing that you absolutely have to do, is you have to follow through.
Yeah. Yes.
You have to keep aiming.
Yeah.
Because if you don't keep aiming, it takes so long for the gun to go off, even in the perfect scenario, that you shoot 5 feet over the back of the deer, 10 feet into the ground in front of you. So it's probably, it's the most challenging type of firearm deer hunting, I think, that there is.
And on top of that, people who are familiar with inlines, you know, are reaching out and being able to shoot at 150 yards today fairly accurately.
Farther than that.
Even farther, but let's just say 150 is a good number, or 200, whatever you want to say. But we're talking 50 yards accurately, maybe, if you're really good. I mean, there's guys who are very good with them, but for us, 50 yards is a pretty good range for us. You know, 100 is a poke. 100's real far.
Right.
Yeah, we don't take that shot very often.
If there were actually a lot of people listening to the podcast, there'd probably be a lot of guys going, "Oh, I can shoot mine 100 yards." And there are a few people out there that have good ones and that really practice with them and are really proficient. And
and that's also maybe on a bench with a rest.
Right. In the woods, it is a challenge to shoot one 100 yards accurately, consistently.
Yes.
And like Mark mentioned, the traditional projectiles for these, so almost all of these guns that we're shooting are all 50 calibers. There's a few other reasonably common calibers, 45, 50, and 54, I think, are the most common. I don't know. In Pennsylvania, I think you have to use at least 45. Is that correct?
I think that's right.
That's correct.
There are some smaller squirrel guns in like 32 caliber and other things, but I don't know that we've ever had one that wasn't a 50 caliber.
Yeah, no. All of mine are 50 caliber.
Right. So the traditional projectile, as Mark mentioned, was what they call a patch and round ball. It was literally a round ball of lead, and the patch was like a rag. I mean, originally just a thin piece of rag that you put a little bit of lubrication on. They use bear grease and all kinds of other stuff. And the barrels had really slow twist rifling in them, which was the right kind of rifling to stabilize a ball like that. Most of these guns, I think, are 1 in 48 twists, which is literally how many times, like the rifling inside the barrel, how fast or slow it twists. And that means it makes one complete turn in 48 inches, which is a really slow turn. Like modern rifles are 1 in 9, 1 in 10, 1 in 12 twists. These are much slower. And we started doing this, Matt. When do you think the first season that we muzzleloader hunted?
Boy, I don't know. It had to be. I might have been 18. I might have even been older than that.
I think it was a little earlier. There was a kind of the story of how we got into this. There was a biology teacher at our high school named Jerry Stover. Shout out to Mr. Stover, probably one of the main reasons why I got into the biology field. And he was a super nice guy, and he was a really avid hunter. And he was a muzzleloader hunter. And I believe I took his class in 10th grade. Did either of you guys have Mr. Stover?
No,
that's too bad.
I didn't have him.
And one of the years after I took his class, we got to talking, and it was late in the fall, and he had gotten some kind of deal on Traditions muzzleloader, flintlock muzzleloaders.
Oh, yeah, I remember those things.
And I think we bought 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's one of them.
Yeah, but you would have, that's right, though.
So I would have been like
16.
That would have been like 96.
Yeah, and that's the year I graduated. I was 18.
Right. Oh, there you go. So we got all the way back around, and Matt was right. It happens so rarely. It's not fair. But so yeah, we came up here with those 2 Traditions muzzleloaders. And when I say up here again, we're at Deer Camp, which is this central Potter County?
Yeah,
kind of like right in the middle of the county. Yeah. And that was the beginning of this whole scene, but it really quickly became a thing that we fell in love with.
Oh yeah, it is by far my favorite thing to hunt with, and I hate the damn guns.
Well, that's because they are so eminently frustrating. I mean, they're just they just teach you so many things about being careful in the woods, because there's just so many ways that you can screw it up and then have I mean, then you're at some point, then you're just like carrying a gun around in the woods that may as well be a stick. I mean, as soon as you get the powder really wet, then you're
done.
Yeah, you may as well just head back to the car. But well, I guess talk about that a little bit, Matt. Like, especially in those early years, how did we, like, what was the hunting like here?
Well, most of the time in the early years, we didn't stand hunt very often. We typically did a deer drive. So I think when we started out, really honestly, it was probably me, you, Dad, and maybe one or two other people would come up. But there'd be 4, 5, 6 of us. Quickly, that turned into 12, 15, and we do essentially get up, never really in a rush in the morning. When I say that, I mean we waited till it was light enough to see, even leave the cabin, go out, do a drive or two, come back, eat lunch, go back out in the afternoon, do a drive or two, come back and eat supper. Not the typical Pennsylvania, be in your tree stand an hour before it's daylight and sit there till after dark. So it was a completely different scenario, different, way of hunting than we mostly did with a rifle. Yeah, it's a lot more active.
Right. And what I would say is we did a lot of deer driving at this camp. I mean, this camp was a very traditional Pennsylvania deer camp where we had 15
to 25
guys every year, and we did drives. We would stand hunt the first day,
and then, day and a half,
and then start driving after that. But in muzzleloader season, even though we often had far less people, it seemed like all of our drives worked better in muzzleloader season.
Yeah, we definitely had drives that we could do every day and see deer in that drive every time you did it and know exactly how they were going to run. And essentially you just, switched who got to be the standers and who got to be the drivers. And often even a lot of times the drivers would get shooting in those drives.
Yeah, I was telling Caitlin yesterday, we were in a spot that was one of the places we drove all the time. And I think that year we were up for 4 or 5 days and we killed 4 deer, which was probably the most we ever got.
Yeah.
And 3 of them came from one standing position on one drive.
That's right.
Drove it 3 days in a row and killed a deer on it every day. Mm-hmm. So yeah, for some reason, it just seemed like all of the drives worked. Like it seemed like in rifle season, you do these drives and, even with 15 or 20 guys, you'd see a handful of deer and, almost, now we were usually only hunting bucks, but I don't know. It just seemed like the deer moved better, moved slower, gave you better opportunities in muzzleloader than you ever got in rifle.
I think the other thing is we probably in muzzleloader season, because we knew what worked and what didn't over the years of driving rifle, that we sort of cherry picked the best drives to do. In rifle season, we used to do some of these gigantic, forever elaborate.
Yeah.
People coming in from different angles.
Button hook in the middle.
Right. Stuff that, and sometimes they worked, but in muzzleloader season, we simplified all that down to, okay, this drive we see deer in almost every time we do it in rifle, and this one, and this one, and this one. And these are the ones we're going to do at least first. And, and they worked. They just, that doesn't mean we killed deer every drive.
No, that's for sure.
We burned a lot of powder.
Yeah. There was a lot of shooting without a lot of killing deer.
I actually think I like that better.
Yeah, I know. It's really sort of added something. Well, and it really made the deer that you did get really special. Right?
Yeah. It definitely did.
And then, Mark, when did you start?
I mean, as soon as I could start hunting. So, I mean, I would have been 12. I think my 12th birthday, that might have been my Christmas present, was a flintlock.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, we started as soon as I was 12. I was coming up here. And this was always my favorite season. And one of the reasons was till I was 12, Mike, you were in college. Matt had a child. So it wasn't every year that we were together in rifle season up here. And there were a couple, but more consistently, we were taking that week between Christmas and New Year to hunt together almost always every year until you moved to Montana.
Yeah, everybody got a break that week, and this was what we did.
Right.
And it's been so much fun. It's hard, it's hard to explain just how much fun this season has been for us and how much it means to me and how much I love. Like, if I'm going to come back to hunt in Pennsylvania, this is when I always want to do it. And not because of the deer that we actually kill.
Yeah, I mean, if you were basing it solely off of how many deer you shot, I mean,
I distinctly remember a year where we had 40 shots and no deer killed.
40 shots and no deer? Really?
Yeah.
That sounds right. Half of those were probably hangfires or,
right.
misfires.
I missed 3 doe in one drive. I was a stander one year, and I had a doe come out, stop at, 40 yards, 30 yards. Shot at her. She ran away. I knew I missed her. Loaded the gun. Another deer came, stood in the exact same spot. Missed that one. Loaded the gun. Another deer came, stood in the exact same spot. I missed that one. And then Dad comes out to me and goes, "Where's the deer?" And I'm like, "Still running." And he's like, "You shot 3 times and didn't hit anything?" I'm like, "Yes."
Well, and the thing was, a lot of times, what's really frustrating about them is I can distinctly remember many times where the deer would stop at 10 yards and stand there, and you just could not get that gun to go off.
Yeah.
And then the deer would start running, and then in a hope and a prayer shot, it would discharge without an issue. And you never knew why it, you open up your pan, you have plenty of pan powder. It just the luck of the draw sometimes.
I also feel like a lot of times after you miss a deer with a flintlock, they just stood there and looked at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even run away.
They knew.
Yeah, no, they just behave differently.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I always think about how different the behavior seems like it is. And you were talking about missing 3 deer in one drive, but we drove a spot called Little Moors one time. We drove that clear cut up Little Moors, and I don't remember exactly what happened. I think we were setting up for the drive, and 1 deer, a doe, ran out the back of the drive and into the clear cut, like up over the top. And I saw where she went, and I thought, I'm just going to walk over the top and look and see if I can see her down there. Well, I did that, and she was just down in the clear cut feeding. So she'd only run like 150 yards. And she came out of there like she was shot out of a cannon, ran into that clear cut and stopped. And I snuck down there and got like 100 yards from her. And I got up on top of a root mass from a blown down tree where I had a perfect rest and laid the gun in there. I shot at that deer 3 times. And every time I'd shoot, she'd look around and she'd go back to feeding. And after the 3rd shot, I was just like, well, I guess I can't hit her. And I just left. She was still there. Went back and we finished the drive. It's like, but that's the same place. The funniest thing maybe that I ever saw with one was our cousin Davey. We have a second cousin, a son of one of Dad's cousins, named Davey, that we grew up with almost like another brother.
Yep.
His grandparents lived 2 doors down from us, and we just spent a ton of time. He came up here on our family vacations to deer camp with us for many years. It feels like almost all the years I can remember Davey was here.
Fished with him all summer.
Right. And then we hunted together as well.
Well, he only started hunting. The first time he hunted was flintlock season.
Was it really?
Yeah. You probably don't remember because Jane, his mom, had a conversation with me at the time, and she's at the time was not really for hunting.
Oh, yeah.
And she said to me, Davey's going to go, at Christmas, I guess. We probably saw her on Christmas Eve because we used to always do a Christmas party. And she said to me, Davey's not going to be able to kill a deer. I know him well enough. He's never going to be able to shoot a deer if he gets one in front of him. And he shot a deer that year.
Did he really?
That was his first year. First deer with a flintlock.
All right, everybody. We had our obligatory Outdoor Rules podcast dog interruption there. Hunter showed up to deer camp with his German short-haired puppy. As we come back, Matt and Mark and I are talking about all the funny sounding parts of the muzzleloader, and then we'll get right back into the story about Davy's first deer. What are we going to talk about, Matt?
Touch holes.
What are we going to talk about, Mark?
Boar butter.
What are we going to talk about, Matt?
Ramrods.
What are we going to talk about, Mark?
Nipples. It is a little disingenuous. A touch hole and a nipple is the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Okay. Is it?
Isn't the nipple the thing the touch hole's in the middle of?
Is the touch hole part of a nipple?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, on a percussion cap muzzleloader, the thing that you put the cap on is a nipple, which makes sense because it sticks up.
Like a nipple.
Right. But a flintlock doesn't have that.
A very cold nipple.
God.
But when you order...
always one step too far. But I think a flintlock, it only has a touch hole.
Yeah.
But they call it a nipple pick.
Yeah, but that's probably because you could use it on a percussion cap gun, too.
I don't know.
Either.
Nipple gets a jam in it. You got to pick it out of there.
Okay. So
Don't put your boar butter on your nipple.
All right. For anybody that's still actually listening to this conversation, as we mentioned, we are at deer camp, and so if there's any audio quality issues, sorry. The fan on the wood stove goes on and off, and Emma's still here hanging out with us. So
the benches squeak.
The benches squeak a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, we were talking about Davy's first deer. So Matt, I guess continue with that story.
Well, it was in that drive that you were talking about in Littlemore's, right?
I thought it was on the front between Pollock and Blue Coat. I'm 99% sure it was out on the front between Pollock and Blue Coat.
Yeah, but I'm almost positive that was Davy's first year.
I think you're right.
I think it was the first year he hunted. And
I think you're right.
And I think it was the first year he hunted, and the first thing he tried hunting with was a flintlock, and he shot a deer at least in his first trip, if not pretty early on. Like
it might have been the first deer Davy shot at.
I think it very well might have been.
Yeah.
Because I do remember him saying when we got up to where he shot, "Is this a good blood trail?" And it was like 4 feet wide.
Yeah. It looked like a highway.
Yeah.
It was pretty, it was
now there was snow, so it was really pronounced.
Right. Which is also another great thing about muzzleloader season here. Almost all of the really good muzzleloader seasons that we had, there was snow.
Yeah.
The tougher years were wet years when there was no snow.
Well, when it was like that, then the guns really didn't go off.
Right.
And I do think we forgot to mention that in Pennsylvania, your antler deer tag, which you get one antler deer tag a year, and then you can purchase doe tags for the state.
For certain units.
For certain units. It used to be by county when we started. Then it went to units. But your buck tag in flintlock season becomes an anything tag, an antler deer or antlerless deer. Now, a couple years ago, 20 years ago, when I say a couple of years, but 20 years ago, they did add a points restriction, and you still had to follow the points restriction, but you could still use your buck tag as a doe tag. So anybody who didn't fill their tag and didn't have a doe tag, and enticed them to come up for this season, which was one of the other nice things about that season.
Right. It's always been, that I know of, the only statewide antlerless tag. It's like the only way you can have any tag that's good everywhere in the state for an antlerless deer is once you buy the flintlock permit, and then
I always assumed that was to tease you into buying a flintlock.
Which it was also nice because this unit is one of the harder units to get a doe tag in Pennsylvania. So
yeah, even now
it sells out fast. And so, I mean, I remember years where we were dropping our tags off at the mailbox on a Saturday because they had to be post-dated for a Monday. So we knew Monday that they were going to be post-dated.
In order to
make sure we got our doe tag
for
because you didn't get them in the second. There was no second draw for these tags.
Yeah, the story that I was thinking about, Davey, one of my all-time favorite muzzleloader memories was on the other end of the Little Moors Drive. Davey and I were standers, and I was up on the point in the clear cut, like in the trees, but I could see Davey. Davey was down in the bottom where it's open,
Mm-hmm.
and these deer came out, and I shot at them as they went by me and missed them. And I don't know if it was 2, 3, 4 does or what, but they ran down to Davey, and they stopped. Like, I don't think it is an exaggeration to say they were 15 feet from him. And he was pointing his gun at him, and I was like, why isn't he shooting? Like, what is going on? Just like they're having this face-off. And then what I realized is I can see Davey cocking his hammer with one hand and squeezing the trigger, and he just keeps cocking the hammer and squeezing the trigger and cocking the hammer and squeezing the trigger. He must have done that like 15 or 20 times.
And the gun never went
off, and then the deer ran away. And then I think we went down there, looked it over, dumped the pan powder out, put new pan powder in, and he shot a stump with it like on the first try. Just 100% how muzzleloaders work.
That's right.
They always seem to fail on you at the worst possible moment. But we talked a little bit about when we started, and we got a deer the first year that we muzzleloader hunted. I think we just had those 2 muzzleloaders, and it was Dad and I had the guns.
Yeah, I don't think I had tags.
Right. And we did it. There were a couple other people that came up here. So I think some of the guys, because you can archery hunt right now too.
Yes.
Now you have to, like, your tag is not good for a doe, so if you have a buck tag, if you don't have a doe tag, you can't shoot a doe, and you're hunting with a bow, you have to follow all that. It's not like flintlock that way, but a couple guys came up and brought their bows as well. And we did a little push, and I mean, it worked. It worked so good. It was actually the same drive that we were just talking about where Davey got his first deer. And it was deep snow that year, like a lot of snow. And I know I climbed up the side of this hill, and I found this great looking trail where it was like, oh, this just seemed perfect. It's coming from the way the drivers are going to push this. And those deer ran right to me. I mean, they were like 10 yards away, and they had no idea I was there. And I completely missed them, just didn't touch a hair on them. And they turned and ran uphill and ran right to Dad. And lo and behold, such a Dad thing to do. And we call Poppy the finisher sometimes because he always seems to manage to be in the right place at the right time. But Poppy hit one, and then it ran down in the bottom, and we ended up getting it down there. And then Dad went like, I don't know how many deer Dad shot at after that before he hit another one.
A lot.
But he killed the first one he shot at, and then went a couple of years at least until we got another one for him.
Yeah, the guns definitely have a way of humbling you.
Right. And, we mentioned it back then, like at the time of that story, it was the patch and round ball. But then, I don't know, we probably only hunted 3 or 4 years until they
let
changed
you start
it.
shooting conicals.
Right. And I think when they changed it, you could basically shoot any single projectile.
Yeah, that's right.
And we tried different stuff. We tried sabots.
I distinctly remember the maxi balls in the cases that have
those are conical bullets.
Right. But so those are maxi balls or mini balls, conical bullets, but pure lead full bore size bullets.
Mm-hmm.
And we did shoot those for a while, and those worked pretty well. But we tried sabots.
Yeah,
and
the sabots. The problem with them is you can typically get them loaded the first shot, but once your barrel's dirty, they're essentially impossible to get the whole way down.
And I think 2 things about sabots. One is exactly what you said.
I know what you're going to say for the other one.
Well,
they're not designed for that rifle twist.
Right, exactly. They're designed for faster twists, and I don't think 1 in 48 stabilizes them very well. But what Matt was talking about there is, as you shoot a muzzleloader, especially a black powder, especially a flintlock, because in flintlocks, you really can't use any of the black powder substitutes.
No.
Like you can't use Pyrodex or 777 or any of that stuff. You have to use real black powder because it is the most easy of all of them to ignite. And if you try anything else, if you're lucky, you get hangfires, but usually you get misfires. And Matt, you have a Thompson Center Firestorm.
Yes, it was supposed to be designed to shoot Pyrodex pellets, and they will go off, but it's such a slow. I mean, it's hard enough to hit something with black powder when the gun goes off at its best,
right? And
it's almost impossible with that.
Even so we tried pellets and they basically didn't work, and then we tried loose Pyrodex and that hardly worked.
And then I think I might even tried putting 10 or 20 grains of black powder in first, and then Pyrodex, and even that's. I mean, we quickly learned that wasn't going to work. We just stuck with black powder, straight black powder.
Right. And the reason to shoot the substitutes is because they're not corrosive. So they're better on your gun barrels. They're less dirty, and in some ways they're easier to clean, but they don't really work.
No.
So you pretty much got to shoot straight black powder. Mm-hmm. And black powder is very dirty. And the more times you shoot, the harder it is to get your gun reloaded.
Yes.
And then the other thing about black powder is the residue is corrosive. So
you need to clean them that day.
Not as soon as you shoot, but the day that you shoot, you really got to clean the gun, or else things start to rust. Anyway, so we did start, the thing that we've found that worked, and again, if people who know what they're doing are listening to this, they might laugh about it, but the thing that we did find that really shoots pretty well are power belt, CVA power belt bullets. So I think, what are we shooting now? Like the 295 grain?
Yeah, 295 grains, yeah.
And those power belt bullets, they're a full 50 caliber size bullet, but they have a plastic gas check on the back of them that seals the barrel. And they seem to load pretty well. That first year that we were talking about that Dad killed, that was with a round ball. One of the few that we ever actually got with a round ball. We got that first year, and then it took us a while. Took all of us a while till we got another one. But those round balls, they're not great for terminal performance.
No.
They kind of, I mean, a 50 caliber hole's not small, but it's not huge, but they don't change size or shape all that much when they hit a deer, especially if they, maybe if you hit a bone or something, but when you're shooting them in the body.
Yeah, I think even a bone, I mean, unless you hit them right on the point of the shoulder, maybe you'll get some expansion.
Right.
For the most part, ribs don't really even affect a round ball.
Right. But it seems like those power belts are made of relatively soft lead. We shoot the copper plated ones, but they seem to open up, and I would say that I think probably it might be that almost all the deer I ever killed with a flintlock, I've killed with those.
Yeah, I think probably the ones I would think pretty much. I might have shot my first one with a maxi ball, but since then, I pretty much only hunted with.
And even the maxi balls we used a lot of them were the hollow point.
Yeah.
Or flat points.
Mm-hmm.
And they did seem to do better from a terminal performance standpoint for sure.
Mm-hmm.
How many deer do you think you've gotten with a?
I think it's either 2 or 3. To be honest, I don't know.
How many do you think you've shot at?
100? I mean, I can tell you that I've had some deer I've had a lot of times I don't know how I missed.
Yeah.
The last one that I shot at, I had a doe coming 2 or 3 together, and they got that close to me. I was like, I don't want to shoot them this close. And I actually purposely let them get past me at a better angle because they were facing me the whole time. And then the deer turned broadside, and I'm talking it was like 20. They passed me at like 10 feet, and I left them get to like 20 yards. And I don't know what happened. The gun went off. Deer stood there and looked at me.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there was snow. When the deer finally did run away, I went and looked. I know I didn't hit the deer. She just stood there, like, for a minute.
Right.
Like, if I hit her anywhere, I'd at least known it. She left. I went and checked the snow. I must have shot, like, way over her because I couldn't even figure out where the bullet hit in the snow.
Right.
So, I don't know. Lots. I've shot at lots of deer with a flintlock.
Mark, how many have you gotten?
0.
None.
I cut hair once.
You have not shot at nearly as many as Matt and I, though.
I've shot at quite a few.
More than 0.
More than 0.
Enough that you maybe should have gotten one.
The only thing I'd say is that you guys were, until we quit coming up here for our yearly big drives, I was maybe 18.
Yeah.
So you guys had a little bit of age on me and a little bit of experience on me, but lots of missing. Lots of missing.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's just so humbling. They're just, it's that kind of like the longbow equivalent in archery, where it's like you think you're pretty handy with a gun, but it's just such a humbling thing because I think that part of the missing is that lock time, the amount of time that it takes a gun to go off is just probably changes so much shot to shot. And,
yes.
Definitely
not, it's definitely not consistent.
Right. One of the last year that I shot at, Caitlin and I were together here a couple of years ago, whenever the last Christmas we were here was, and it was a buck, and he was running at us, but he was at like 15 yards or something when I shot at him, running straight at me. And I got a little bit of a hangfire. Mm-hmm. And I know what happened. I pointed the gun at him. I pulled the trigger. It wasn't that I shouldn't have still been aiming. I should have, but it just hang-fired enough that I picked my head up out of it and I shot right in front of him. Mm-hmm. I just shot the dirt right at his feet. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's like just such a big part of like,
Yeah, you're anticipating the recoil. You're anticipating the gun to go off, and in that tiny amount of time, we're talking
half a second,
or less. You move,
you like want to see what happens.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think you get excited and you're like, "Did I hit that thing?"
Right.
Well, the gun didn't go off yet.
Yeah, you're not aiming anymore.
Right.
But
they're also imperfect tools, and beautifully imperfect tools. You carry one around for, you go on a drive and you're a driver and a deer stands up in front of you and you hadn't had a chance to check your pan charge and the gun goes click, you open it up and it's not a perfect seal most of the time. You're going to lose some powder in there.
Or you get just a little bit of powder between the frizzen and the pan, and the powder itself is like holding it open, allowing the other powder to leak out, or a tiny little piece of dirt gets in there, or a little, Matt had a gun that I'm using. Matt has that Firestorm that I'm using this week. They said this thing holds powder great. Well, it wasn't holding powder for me. And finally yesterday in the afternoon, when I had time to sit there and really mess around with it, I found underneath the frizzen a tiny little piece of corrosion, like a tiny little piece of rust. Mm-hmm. And I scraped that off, and now it works great.
Right. We're hunting in snow. You're bumping snow off of limbs. You're knocking moisture into the things. You're getting your frizzen a little bit damp. There's just so many variables for what can go wrong.
Right.
There's no other firearm that can be used. I guess that's not firearm, but I'm sure in that lattice or a longbow, there's a lot of. But even those, what they're going to do if you practice enough. You can practice all you want, and when it comes time to actually shoot at an animal, something completely out of your control can happen. And
I feel like there is no doubt in my mind that if in all the years that we've done this, certainly if we had crossbows, but even with compound bows, I think we would have killed more deer with bows than with flintlocks.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if your goal is to just go shoot a deer, you're better off the archery hunt.
Right. And I think that, like, if people are listening to this, there's got to be a bunch of people thinking these guys are idiots. Like, how could you shoot at 100 deer and get 4 or 5? And first of all, I would say you're correct. We are idiots. But I mean, unless you're somebody that has consistently killed deer with a flintlock, it's just really hard to understand all of the challenges that you encounter with this. And I think beautifully imperfect is the quote of the podcast, Mark, because that's exactly how I feel. It's just like, it's so magical when it all works out. And it's so special when you finally get a deer with one. I mean, I remember the first one I got. I know where it was. I was with a friend of ours on their family farm, and it came up and we were in a tree stand, and I knocked it straight down, shot it through the shoulder, kind of perfect shot. And I was just like, I can't believe that finally worked. Like, I could not believe until I actually put my hands on that deer that I had gotten one. And I think I've gotten, like, I know I've gotten at least 6, because I had a 4-year streak where I got one every year, and I've gotten 2 since I moved away from Pennsylvania. I've gotten 2 in years that I've came back. And now one of the things that I'm really excited about this year is that Caitlin, who has always resisted my prodding to flintlock muzzleloader hunt, has actually picked one up this year, and she's given it a try. So
yeah, I'm really hoping we can at least get her a shot at a deer.
Yeah. The other thing about flintlock muzzleloader hunting is, like, if it's raining,
you might as well stay in the cabin.
Pretty much don't go. And unfortunately, like today, there's kind of misty rain on and off all day. So I hunted this morning, and actually saw a buck. I thought I had a buck coming to me. I did have a buck coming to me for a minute, but I think he smelled me and then didn't come. I passed a couple does last night, which nobody can quite believe. Everybody seems to think I'm trigger happy.
I think no is the term. We know you're trigger happy.
Caitlin and I have 4 more days after today where we could hunt. I guess we should have said that. We came up here the day after Christmas. It's now Saturday. So we've had 3 days up here. And now we'll have 4 days at home where we can hunt, but it looks like at least 2 of them are going to be washed out from a flintlock standpoint. So we're really hoping, and if we get one, we'll add a little bit to the end of this podcast and update everybody on it. But who knows? Oh, the other thing is, what Caitlin really loves about the idea of flintlock muzzleloader hunting, what really sold her was when she asked me, well, what's the biggest buck you guys have ever gotten? Matt, what's the answer to that?
Nobody's ever shot a buck.
Right. We've shot at a few.
Oh.
We've shot, yeah. I
can remember the ones I missed.
I actually shot at the buck I was just telling the story about. I actually shot at him twice that day and had it a third time where the gun didn't go off in between the 2 times that I shot at him. Anyway, so yeah, I think Caitlin really likes the idea of potentially being the first of the Outdoor Ruhls to get a buck with a flintlock. So
I like the idea of her being humbled when the gun won't go off, and she finally understands what we're talking about. Not humble. She's humble, but
I gotta tell you, hoping Caitlin isn't the one that gets lucky is usually a losing proposition. Yeah. She's certainly got her share of luck. So I like her odds as much as any of us for sure.
No doubt.
But Matt's tagged out on bucks, unfortunately, for this year, so he hasn't actually hunted yet. Mark, and I think we're gonna.
I'm guiding.
Yeah,
cooking, guiding.
You're the camp cook.
It's been really fun up here at camp with all the kids. Our Mark's wife and Rachel and Caitlin went to town and took a couple of the kids, but we got out and did a little bit of trout fishing yesterday. Not successfully, but
that was surprising to me, actually.
Yeah. But it's been super fun to hang out at deer camp with you guys and with our wives and kids, and we probably have places where we'd have a much better chance of seeing a deer and getting a really good opportunity to shoot a deer, but nowhere that we'd have more fun.
I'm not going to talk about my favorite part.
Go ahead, talk about your favorite part.
The fights. The brothers' fights on drives. Our cousin Davey, who we talked about, is very mild-mannered, but we had him as mad as I've ever seen him. The scissors drive.
Oh, yeah. We did.
we put the standards in the middle and did a drive from both directions. But I guess what wasn't clear to Davey was that the drive would be coming at the same time. And so the deer came up behind him, and when he turned to shoot at them, they ran away. And then I think deer came up from behind him again.
Yeah, I was a top driver on that one, and he was livid.
He got no shooting, I don't think, at any of those deer.
Yeah. Jerry Stover shot at several deer in that drive.
Yeah, I do remember. Jerry was here for that drive. He came and hunted with us a couple of years here.
Mm-hmm.
He has a camp not too far away, too. He actually spends a lot of his year living up here now. But yeah, what the fights over drives are just like this. It's like the nature of driving, the nature of doing anything slightly complicated with your family is sometimes it's hard to get on the same page and communicate accurately.
I think what happens is everybody's saying the same thing in a different way.
Yeah.
And it never made it back to the cabin. It was always just
no.
In the moment, the drive was done. Somebody would shoot, and everybody was happy again.
Right. Yeah, you just do the next push.
Yeah, the best feeling in the world as a driver is when the standards are shooting.
Oh, man. You're right. And especially with a muzzleloader, and especially when there's multiple shots.
Yeah.
It's always so much fun, like, being that, because you don't know what's going on, and you're not going to know until you get out. So it's like, it's hard to describe, even when it's not you, just because it's a team sport.
It really
That's
is.
right.
It really is a team sport.
Yeah. And so you're always so excited to get out and find out who shot, and if it was a buck or a doe, and if you got one or not.
Well, and if you've pushed for 3 days out of a 5-day week or whatever it is, and we've had 20 shots in those 5 days, when somebody finally got one, it's everybody's deering away, you know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Mark, what about that's one more story I would like to tell. So unfortunately, Poppy's not here. Poppy was supposed to be here, but then he didn't feel well the day before we left, so he decided not to come to camp with us, which is a bummer because there is sort of a famous incident that has a little bit of everything. and by the way, this was in the spot that I talk about that was like the best standing position. It was where you always wanted to be standing on the point. That pole lick, and so it was just a spot where if there were deer in the drive, they were going to run through.
We knew what they were going to do.
This spot.
We knew what they were going to do.
So just to set this up, Mark is young, one of his first years up here muzzleloader hunting, and he goes with Dad up to this spot, and you guys sat like 20 yards apart or something, right?
It was probably 40 or 50, but yeah. So, and I was a stander, which I took to mean I was just to be in my spot. I didn't know I had to stand, quote unquote.
So it was like Dad took you up there.
So Dad dropped me off. I was the low man. Again, we were like 50, 60 yards apart. He was above me on this hill. And this is a drive I've been involved in quite a few times, even only being 14 or 15, whatever I was. But I sat down with my back against a tree with a general idea of what direction a deer were going to come from because I've seen them do it so many times. Now, I think that year we normally pushed, if we didn't have enough drivers, we just pushed a mountain laurel on one side, which was typical.
And not the top.
And not the complete top or down over the other side. So it's a point that comes from two hollows, and we're just pushing that out.
When we say a point, it's a ridge.
A ridge.
Yeah, sure.
So in the midst of this drive, Dad looks down the hill at me. He's the top man. He's looking up. He looks over his shoulder and sees me sitting. And he starts motioning to me, but I wasn't following what the motion was.
Now, this is imagining the motion that he described to us is he's got his palms pointed towards the sky, and he's raising them up. He's looking intently at Mark and emphatically signaling, like pushing his palms towards the sky.
I mean,
which meant
stand up. I didn't understand.
That now.
It got more emphatic and angrier as it kept going. And it wasn't really angry until the deer ran between him and I as he was making that motion. One of which was a buck. Now, one of the things is it was relatively rare to see bucks in our drives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be it that either they were doing things, they were smart enough to circle back, they had shed horns by this point. It just depended on the year. But a 6-pointer went between him and I. And he then quickly grabbed his gun and took a shot at the deer as it ran away. But it was the only buck he had ever shot at. So shortly thereafter, I shot at a doe coming the direction I expected him to come. So I knew where the deer were going to come from. But from that point on, all I heard about was that it was my fault that he didn't get to shoot his first buck the way he wanted to.
I think it was like maybe an unspoken up to that point rule to not sit in a drive. I knew that it was a thing at this camp to sit, like you're not allowed to sit during a drive. You're a stander. They call you a stander for a reason. You're supposed to stand.
Yes.
However,
I was adamantly told never sit.
Right.
Nobody ever told me that.
Apparently you missed that memo.
You can get a better...
But at some point, the deer had to be looking at Dad, emphatically waving at you.
I think I remember now, thinking about this more and more, I think I remember pointing at the deer coming.
No, that's the story as I remember it, and I don't want to tell your story, but the story as I remember it is you're looking at the deer and watching Dad like waving his arms around.
And I'm pointing at the deer.
What is that guy? What is he doing? And you're trying to point at the deer.
They did go between us. Yeah. Our communication wasn't the best.
Yeah, well, classic muzzleloader story. Everything worked perfect except the thing that didn't. Gun went off that time.
It did.
Yeah. He was kind of mad, though.
He was very mad.
These things happen.
It makes a better story this way.
Yeah, it really does.
I mean, if the deer just ran up to him and shot it, we probably wouldn't even talk about it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautifully imperfect.
Yep. All right, you got anything to add, Matt?
I don't think so.
Mark, anything else?
I don't believe so.
All right, everybody. Well, as always, thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this. You can find a lot of our content at www.outdoorruhls.com. As always, that's RUHLS. We're on Instagram at Outdoor Ruhls. We're also on Facebook. And if you wouldn't mind when you listen to one of these podcasts, leaving us a like or a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, that'd be a huge help. But all right, thanks for doing this. I hope we get one this flintlock season, guys.
Oh, we'll try.
Yeah.
All right. Love you guys.
Hunting and fishing, the great outdoors, mixing history, laughter, love, and folklore, creating memories with family and friends. These are the trophies that matter in the end. Outdoor